All right. Welcome to a special episode. We're going to go through a mock draft that is currently being done, which we are collecting ADP data for the website. And we've got 12 guys on staff and in the community that come on. And we run through Sleeper and we do these 1 QB plus IDP mock drafts, about 25 rounds. So there's a lot of interesting information, especially right now with the just getting done with the season into the new season. So much movement. So I brought on Grant and Will here to help. We're just gonna see where the conversation takes us. We're gonna look at the information that will be displayed on the screen here soon, and see what topics come to mind because there has been a lot of movement. But before we get into all of that, let's just go around. Grant, real quick. Where can people find you? What do you do? And what's going on?
Yeah, so they can find me on Twitter at Grant_Gillen. I work for the IDP guys. Work there. I'm behind the scenes essentially. I work with their YouTube channel, looking to grow that. So if you're a fan of our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe.
Absolutely. Will, what do you got going on? Where can people find you?
So you guys can find me on Twitter at FFSkinnyChef. I am a writer for IDP Guys. Right now, I'm kind of in my dead season. I like to take a break in January and just relax and detox and say hello to my family. And then starting sometime in February, I go, oh crud, football's starting back up again. I got to pay attention. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, these guys have been going full blast this whole last season, and they deserve this January break. But definitely, if you're out there, you don't know what IDP Guys is, go to idpguys.org, check out the site. There's a ton of great content. Become a subscriber. Just so many benefits, so many people that get into our Slack subscriber channel and end up winning their league just from the information we provide, the questions we answer. So part of that subscription is ADP data, being able to see where people are going, how they're valued. We feed this also into the Dynasty Trade Calculator, where we manage their values. But let's take a look real quick at where we're at in this draft. So we got 12 guys here and 12 teams going on. There's me at the end. We got Skinny Chef in the middle. And Grant is actually not part of this draft, so he's going to kind of give us some fresh eyes, a fresh take on what's going on. But just looking back, because it has been a few months since I've done a mock draft for the site. Morgan is over there putting together 4 or 5 of these a month so that we get good data. And it's been since probably September that I've jumped in. And man, I got to say that beginning of the first round has changed drastically. What do you guys think? Is that where we're at with wide receivers, running backs right now?
Right now, I'm in love with Jonathan Taylor after he just finished the season the way he did. And honestly, Christian McCaffery, until he proves us otherwise that he's not made of glass, I think Jonathan Taylor is the easy number one pick.
Mm-hmm. And this is dynasty, so for that's a very important point. With Jonathan Taylor's age being so young, it definitely increases his value so much more. So for a startup dynasty draft, if I can't see anyone else to take other than Taylor at the first pick. What do you think, Will?
I mean, he for sure he's a clear 101 as a running back. When you grab a guy like Taylor at 101, you got to nail the rest of your draft to make sure you're competitive. So there's nothing wrong grabbing Jonathan Taylor at 1. Me personally, I would have taken Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson at 1-1, and stack that young receiver because running backs are so interchangeable. But
That's a good point.
there's nothing wrong with going Taylor at 1-1.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So let's look at those first 4 picks, and we've got Jonathan Taylor, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp. Now, Kupp's been in the league for a few years, but just got that, I got to say it, amazing quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who really could take any team to the Super Bowl, but chose the Rams to do it with. I won't fault him for that. Uh, but so Cooper Kupp has some age, but the other guys are pretty young, just came into the league. Do you see anywhere where are these interchangeable? Is the way this lined up the way it should be? What are your thoughts here?
So just looking at these three, I think I'm going Cup, Chase, Jefferson, just
Okay.
because Cup's got those other receivers around him that are going to open up more targets to Cup and possibly even further downfield. Jamar Chase, is just dynamic. He's going to get his plays, but you're starting to see teams are double teaming him or rolling a safety over on him, and it can cut down on his targets.
Mm, absolutely. So now, and Will, I'll get to you here also your opinion on these, but I gotta ask. So you're gonna take Cup probably what right after Jonathan Taylor at the 102. Can Cup go any higher? He just got essentially the triple crown with what is that, receptions, yards, and touchdowns for the year. He's he's pretty much maxed his potential, right? Or do you think he could do more next year?
I think he's going to have probably a comparable year to what he just had this year, especially if that offense stays pretty much
Mhm.
the same. So I could see him going number one. I could see him going number three. It really depends on where your needs are.
Gotcha. All right. So Will, where are you seeing this cluster in the front? With the way kind of it's gone in this draft, but would you say you value any of these guys differently?
Cup, Jefferson. I think I would go Jamar Chase. He's pretty well proven with that quarterback. Cup, I put Cup at number two. Like Grant said, I don't think he can't. He can definitely repeat what he did this year, a second year with a great quarterback like Stafford, them getting that connection going better, and more options, healthy options around Cup
Mhm.
to kind of divert some of the coverage. I think he's good there. Jefferson, as talented as he is, that Minnesota team is going to go through some changes. And we don't know what that team's going to look like next season. You assume they're going to go maybe more pass heavy, but we really don't know at this point. So
Mhm.
that's why I put Cup ahead of Jefferson. It's just the questions of the future.
Do you think Kirk Cousins puts any question on Jefferson's projection for the coming year? I don't know really Cousins' contract, and if he might be up for something, or if maybe Vikings go in a different way. But do you think that there is any clouding to Jefferson based off of Cousins?
Not from Cousins. Cousins is good enough to continue supporting Jefferson. He's Cousins is worth uh, 15 million dead money next year, so he's not
Okay.
going anywhere. I'm not sure what he is the following season, but next year it's 15 mil, so he's not going anywhere. Um,
Nice. Yeah, that's good. And then do you think that Dalvin Cook has had some issues staying on the field? I think he still had a couple missed games this season where Madison was able to come in. And I think they still kind of had the same production
yeah,
at running back. Do you think that has any effect? Like if Dalvin Cook can stay for a full season, maybe it takes from Jefferson? Or do you think that that is pretty even keel for the next year?
probably pretty even keel. You see, when teams establish the run really well, it opens up the passing game, especially for some of those deep shots, which is something Jefferson can excel at. He's good with the yak as well, so I don't think it's going to hurt him if Cook plays a full season.
Mm, yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then, so just rounding out these guys here, Jamar Chase. Um, he had to get a little used to at the very beginning of the season the pace of the NFL. And yeah, I know he had some pretty explosive plays, but he was still a rookie and still took a couple games to get into his groove. Do you think Jamar Chase exceeds what he did this year next year with Joe Cool there?
Absolutely, especially if they can get a couple guys to protect Joey Burrow. I think the passing game is wide open then for him, especially with Joe Mixon still in the backfield.
Okay. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, he can only go up from here, right? I mean, another year in the season, more comfortable with the speed of the NFL, more comfortable in that offense. We know him and Burrow can play well together. We've seen it in college, so he can only get better from here.
Gotcha.
Andy's also got the other receivers, Higgins, Boyd, and Uzama out there to take some of that protection away from him. Or, yeah.
To take some of the defense off of
Yeah.
him. So this is very interesting what we're talking about with these wide receivers, and then flipping it over to that number one at Taylor. Do you think that Carson Wentz and where he's going to be next year has any effect on his usage? Do you think maybe they rely more on the run game or switch to a more passing offense if Wentz can? I know he had some problems staying on the field, but also, they had some offensive problems. What do you guys see there? Is that, essentially shielded from whatever changes? Their run game is just going to stay the same, or will there be an increase or a decrease? It's early in the season, but if you can think through what their needs are, go for it, Grant.
Honestly, if you can trust Carson Wentz, I think they're going to open up the offense a little bit for him. But I don't know how you can get away from Jonathan Taylor. He's the workhorse of that offense. Let that offense run through him, and then see where the passing game is from there.
Gotcha. Go for it, Will.
I don't see how they can give him the ball any more than they already did. I mean, we're talking about games of 21 carries, 32 carries, 16, 32, 29, 27. You can't give a guy the ball much more than that. So regardless of if Wentz does good or not, he's going to get the same level of touches. So,
gotcha. All right, so he's going to be kind of locked in at that role.
Oh, yeah.
And so there we go. So we just ran through the first four there, and let's look a little bit beyond here as we start getting into more of the running backs. Do you see any of these running backs that might be able to slot into that first four spot, or do you think we just hit a tier break and the next step is Naji Harris right there? What do you guys think?
I kind of see a break here, just because, like, if we're just going to use Cooper Kupp as that break, I don't see any of these running backs scoring as much as Cooper Kupp will be per game. He's just the go-to guy right now. Naji Harris, are we going to see him more in the running game with a new quarterback, or is it going to be Mason Rudolph where they're going to have to depend on Naji? Christian McCaffery scares the crap out of me just because he hasn't proven that he's not made of glass yet. Constantly injured, and the whole situation going on down in Carolina with quarterbacks. Is it Cam Newton? Is it Sam Darnold? Who's it going to be? DeAndre Swift, I think, is the better option out of these three running backs. He really proved himself in MCDC's offense, and he is a key component.
Nice. So what do you think, Will? And so do you think McCaffrey was kind of a reach at this point at 1.6?
I'm burned by McCaffrey, so I think it is. I view McCaffrey kind of the way we saw Barkley last year, where you want to see him go somewhere in the second round. Just because of that injury concern, this is 2 consecutive seasons where he's played not a significant enough number of games to really help your team. So to me, it's a reach there, but I don't blame anybody for grabbing him in the first round, because when he's healthy, and we saw it a little bit this season, he is still the man. He is still an excellent player, and what games you will get out of him, he's worth having in your lineup.
Nice. Yeah.
For me, there's a tier break after Jonathan Taylor for sure. Basically everybody behind that in the first round, and really even to the second round, other than I think Mixon and probably Dalvin Cook, there's question marks behind. Naji Harris, no quarterback, bad offensive line. McCaffrey, the injury issues and quarterback. DeAndre Swift. It's just not a good team. Sorry, Nate. Alvin Kamara, really no good quarterback situation there. Coach has also retired, so not much going on for him there. Eckler, I forget about Eckler all the time. He's such a quiet name, but um, yeah, I don't want to jump that far ahead, but there's just questions on everybody there.
So I mean, okay, this is my team. So do you think I got a steal right there with Eckler falling to the second round?
I wouldn't say it's a steal because Eckler consistently goes in the second round. He the second round's good value on him. He's not going to make it back to you in the third round, so that's a good spot there. He's going to perform for you in that spot. So
nice. Okay,
that's a solid pick.
So now we're gonna go and kind of focus a little more on Christian McCaffrey here because I got burned on him. You guys got burned on him. If you are in this draft and McCaffrey, wherever it is, he's still available. What point are you pulling the trigger personally? What round? Maybe what pick?
Maybe early to mid second. Just because of his injury history, I need to look it up to see how many games he's actually played and has he actually had a full season of playing. Because I'm not even positive if he's had a full season off the top of my head.
It's been like 6 or 9 games over the last 2 years that he's played. For me, basically where I took Henry there at 2.8, that's about where I'm getting real sweaty with Christian McCaffrey, because you're looking at Cam Akers coming off that Achilles, and yeah, it's awesome he made that return, but he didn't play super duper well if you're looking at it from a fantasy standpoint. Behind him, Saquon Barkley, older Leonard Fournette. Christian McCaffrey just presents that upside in that spot above all the other running backs.
Gotcha. So let me throw this one in because you brought up Akers and you brought up him coming back from injury. J.K. Dobbins in this draft is actually was drafted before him, and Dobbins hasn't seen the field yet since that injury. Where's your take with that when it comes to McCaffrey, Akers, Dobbins? How are you lining those guys up?
Probably Dobbins, McCaffrey, Akers. And for me, that's just purely the Ravens' reliance on running the football. He's going to get consistent opportunities there, and then you factor in that youth aspect. I think he's got a couple of years younger than McCaffrey, and in a dynasty startup, that's as much as I hate to say it with a running back, but that's important. That couple of extra years.
So real quick on the Christian McCaffrey injured narrative, I'm wrong. He played 7 in 2021, 3 in 2020, and then his previous 3 years he played all 16 games. So he does show that he can be healthy, but now that he's had these injuries and played 3 and 7 in the past 2 years, now can he stay healthy?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's why he was the consensus 101 for a couple years, was because he put together those seasons where he was clearly the best on the field. Now he's older. Now he's gotten injured a few times, and it's a little bit about, okay, there's a shelf life with running backs, and is he coming up against that? So it's definitely interesting to see, and I think that we're going to find that he falls more and more as we continue to do these into the season. And who knows when the NFL draft actually happens, how that shakes things up, because Carolina might do something silly and grab a running back to compete for that role or something,
like they did last year.
Yeah. and he played oh man, I'm blanking on his name. He had a great name.
Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard. Yeah. Chuba, he played this year. He was good, and he was able to kind of fill in as like the Madison role in Minnesota, where you don't really lose the fantasy points if you have him handcuffed. So do you think that this is going to turn into that kind of a scenario where if you get Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook, you're also grabbing their backups?
See, in Carolina, I would be splitting the roles with Christian, in hopes to keep him healthier for a hopeful playoff run next season.
Mhm.
And I think you see the same with Derrick Henry now that you see Foreman in the lineup too, and why not with Madison and Dalvin Cook?
Yeah.
It's a
What
long
do you think,
season
Will?
now with 17 games.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's when there's a backup where the role is clear cut and they're the number one guy. If the starter goes down, you got to grab that handcuff. Like we said with McCaffrey, um, with Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, and even a little bit with Zeke and Tony Pollard. You want that handcuff for the sake of an injury.
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
when they're splitting the roles, it's not as big of a deal. But when they're going to get the workhorse job, you want that guy.
Yep. No, definitely. So let's move and look at we're gonna cut this to a 30-minute episode. So we're about 20 minutes in, and I want to talk about this last quarter of the draft here, from CeeDee Lamb to Tyreek Hill. Uh, what do you guys think? So CeeDee Lamb has the age for dynasty. He did well. Do you think that he should be higher up? Like if we got rid of Christian McCaffrey into the second round, move those guys that we were just talking about. Where does CeeDee Lamb come in as that wide receiver after that cluster at the front?
I I think that's about the right spot for him. It's real hard to take a number two wide receiver in a dynasty draft in the first round, um, because you still got Amari Cooper there, who is not a terrible receiver, on a good offense. You know, CeeDee Lamb's had opportunities. He had some really key drops this year, and that's, as a Cowboys fan, that's a little bit worrisome from a guy that's supposed to be a stud like that. But I
Yeah.
think for age, for what he's shown, his upside, his potential, that's about the right spot.
Nice. So you not to cut you off, Grant here, but so you brought up CeeDee Lamb being the number two behind Amari Cooper, and now Amari Cooper's in the fifth round. What do you think about that? Is that um a good spot for Cooper? Do you really think, like, why isn't the first round or the number one wide receiver going in the first round? What's going on here? If you want to explain there, Will, as the Cowboys
That,
fan.
so I think a lot of that is Cooper he's never been a highly drafted guy. He's never drafted where his end of season value is. You know, he spent so much time with the Raiders and not really underperforming, but not performing to his first round draft expectations. He's a quiet guy. He doesn't grab the headlines the way that CD does. But I
So you
think
think this is a little name value? The name is
absolutely,
putting him up there. Gotcha.
absolutely, it's name value, and I'm happy to grab Cooper in the fifth round of every dynasty startup draft I'm in. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Go for it, Grant.
Man, I was just gonna say I don't watch much of the Cowboys, so I'm not really familiar with the targets that he gets from Dak. So I'm not much help on this.
Hmm. No, absolutely. So, well, then let's get into the rest of this end of the round. We've got our first quarterback here slotting in, and Josh Allen. So, first off, is he worthy of the one spot, which Mahomes held on to for a few years? And you see the next quarterback now. This is a one QB league. So it's not super flex where you would probably expect a lot more quarterbacks early in the draft. Is this too early for a Josh Allen, or is it about right?
I feel like it's in a one QB league. It's too early for me. But then again, I also in a one QB subscribe to the I'm going to grab quarterback late.
Mhm.
But you look at the value of the players that went after Josh Allen, and I think you're kind of hurting your team there. I mean, his number one receivers, Devontae Smith, who could potentially be a top wide receiver, potentially, but you're looking at older running backs with a really young receiver who hasn't proven anything, and that's it's going to be a struggle to be a really competitive team with when you do something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not taking Josh Allen in the first round. I'm going to go maybe a higher wide receiver or the next best running back there, just because of the value of quarterbacks and where the quarterbacks score as well.
Mhm.
There's, I mean, you got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes at the top, but other than that, there's not a big discrepancy between all the quarterbacks.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
to get back to your original question, I would take Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you are taking Josh Allen first,
Yeah.
and Mahomes is kind of now. Do you think that has anything to do with like he had a slow start this year, which is coming off of probably that Super Bowl hangover where they lost. Last year, I feel like he was. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I feel like he was still pretty solid of a quarterback. And obviously, before that, he was just out of lights out for some time. That's why he went so high. Do you think that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes will kind of have that back and forth right at the one? Maybe one year it's Mahomes, the other year it's Allen.
I think it's going to be completely interchangeable each year, depending on how they end their seasons. Like, I'm just based off this past season, I'm taking Josh Allen on how he closed the season out compared to Patrick Mahomes. Um, Patrick just seemed a little bit careless at the end of the season. I don't know if that was because of the defense they were playing against
Mhm.
him or what, but Josh Allen just seems to be very explosive with all of his wide receivers, and then the running game starting to pick up.
Gotcha.
I think Mahomes is not going to be. This might be a little controversial, but I don't think Mahomes is going to be in that 1-2 conversation consistently over the next few years.
Hot take report right there. Clip that one for TikTok.
Oh, I'm going to get some hate. But no, seriously. You're looking at his top 2 targets. Travis Kelce. We've been saying it for years. He's getting up there. He's getting older. At some point, Father Time has to catch him. I know we said it with Brady forever, and it never truly did, but at some point it will. Kelsey's 33 now, I think. We saw Tyreek Hill have kind of a down season. I know you can write that off to coming back from COVID and maybe not really being right, but those are his 2 top options. And if you look at the team behind those 2, there's nothing. There's Byron Pringle, CEH, and oh my God, McCole Hardman, and the running back, Jarek McKinnon. And those are his top options behind that. And that there's not much to support him moving forward. Whereas Josh Allen, he's got not much super great options behind his top guys, but I feel like he's done more with the second stringers than you've seen from Mahomes.
Gotcha. All right. So with that, we're getting close to wrapping up here. So we want to just round out with the last 3 picks here. We got Kamara, we got Brown, we got Hill. Any of those guys you see going earlier, and what do you think? Tyreek Hill right there at the 12, a steal? Because I don't know. I feel like he can lump in on a good game between those guys at the top and CeeDee Lamb. So maybe he might be someone that could go earlier in this draft.
Hey, Nate, can you move over to the first pick just so I can see who Clinton took? Devontae Adams. Ooh. Alvin Kamara, it's tough just because what's the situation going to be in New Orleans with the head coach? Who's going to be taking the snaps down there as well? So that's a tough one for me right now. Devontae Adams, I would be putting him over Hill. Actually, I wouldn't even do that right now because we don't know
So
the
keep in
future of
mind
Aaron
this is a
Rodgers.
snake.
Yeah.
So Hill goes to Eckler,
Oh,
and then
true.
Adams is way at the end. So 3 other wide receivers there before Adams.
Yeah. I'm torn between this one, honestly.
I think Tyreek Hill, that's a good pick there. I've seen him in a lot of these mocks that we've been doing where he's going later in the second, the middle, or the backside. And I think it's really dependent on the guys in the draft and how you feel about Tyreek Hill. I like him there at the 112. I think that's a good spot for him because of that boom potential that he has. He's older, but not old for a receiver. He's still got some elite speed, elite talent. So I think that's a great spot there. I could see AJ Brown potentially going a little bit earlier
Okay.
because again, he is very young. And when he's healthy, he's shown out and played really well. I could see him in the right leagues jumping Kamara or potentially a CD Lamb if you've got a guy that's a Tennessee Titans fan in your draft.
So Will, what are you doing with Kamara right now? Just because he's pretty questionable as far as who's going to be under center and what the offense is going to look like next year under a new head coach.
Um, you have to draft him.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
in the first round, I hate saying I'm going to take him in the first round, but really, what else is there for New Orleans to do with the football?
Mm-hmm.
Michael Thomas, we don't know his status right now. Even if they have a quarterback, there's nothing beyond Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara is kind of similar to Jonathan Taylor, where he's just going to get the ball a crud ton, and you hope that he can do something with it.
Yeah, that's wild. I wasn't even thinking about Michael Thomas, and I remember last year doing these mocks for startups. Michael Thomas was he was pretty much the 102
Mm-hmm.
before everything came out and everything was going where it was going. It was Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, and then now look at both of those guys. Obviously, in this draft, McCaffrey went 1-6, but could go later into the second, and then Thomas there in the ninth. He would not even be starting on this roster.
No.
So that's just wild. And that brings up the fact that we didn't even cover looking at how this matched up with previous years. So there's so much to cover just getting into these mocks. We are going to be doing some of these videos periodically at the beginning of this off season just to kind of look into and see how the mocks are going, what information we can pull from it, and how things have changed from last year into the new season, because I think it's more drastic this year than it has been in the past. A lot of the times, like McCaffrey was number one a couple years in a row. Obviously Thomas there. I think we've had more movement in the first round than the past few years,
I
and I think
don't
there's a lot to dig in there.
I don't remember seeing so much youth going in the first round. A lot of the drafts we've done in the past, it's been the older statesmen that have been going in that first round and distrusting the youth to the second and the third rounds, and it's unreal how many young guys went in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that we're going to be looking at from in IDP Guys, because we have data going back a few years now with ADP, and we're going to start pulling and collecting that data to see, hey, maybe we look at what's the average age of the first 5 picks in the drafts year over year, and see if that has shifted, if there's some mentality shift in the dynasty community that we can kind of quantify. But with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. We will have more coming because obviously we just got the first round done. So much more even to talk about. Please reach out to us on Twitter, on Facebook at IDP Guys. Comment below on this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And let us know, like, what's the interesting things you saw from this. Were we off base on any of our evaluations, and do you think that any of these guys maybe should be higher in these drafts? Like, what are your opinions on the mock that you saw in front of you? And obviously you got to see much more than the first round, so would love to hear your input about that. Before we sign off, Will, Grant, thank you for joining this show. And real quick, where can people find you? Grant, you go first.
once again, you can find me on Twitter, Grant_Gillen. And then also you can find my work on YouTube. It won't be me, but it'll be me editing everything. So go and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Awesome. Will.
So you guys can find me on Twitter at ff_skinny chef. I'm also on Instagram if you care at all, the original skinny chef. So
Awesome. Good stuff. So for everyone out there, definitely check out idpguys.org. Read the content from the great writers we have. Subscribe. I am at Nate Cheat on Twitter. And hit me up anytime if you have questions. And this has been awesome. I think we got through a lot of great information, and I look forward to the next time we do this. See you guys.